topic of the Digital Innovation Days in the Trakia University is research and development. Therefore, we invited colleagues that are working in R&D and in disseminating their knowledge, their findings in the hottest area possible, artificial intelligence. We will be starting with Max Reddel from the Center for Future Generations with the topic Building CERN for AI, an institutional blueprint. This is what Max is working on. And also we will be having Izodor Mlakar, and I'm apologizing if I'm not having the right pronunciation, Izodor. Yes, he will correct me very soon. Who will be speaking on the subject of strengthening democratic engagement through value-based generative adversarial networks, also known as GAN networks in Bulgarian. So more or less that's the agenda for the next hour. Thank you very much, dear colleagues, for taking the time to join us at the end of the workday. I did not present myself because I switched automatically in English. I did so earlier in Bulgarian, but my name is Kristina, and I'm the chairman of the Digital Innovation Hub Trakia, or also known as Cyber for All Star, one of the 150 digital innovation hubs funded by Digital Europe from across Europe to help small and medium enterprises get up to speed with their global competitors and local competitors as well by basically speeding up their digitalization journey. And what our hub is doing actually is, while others are helping companies speed up their digitalization, we are helping them ensure that this digitalization is being done in a safe and responsible manner. So we provide free cybersecurity services on the test before invest principles. We also provide consulting, how companies can find the funding needed for this this journey that we are onboarding them on. The previous lecture was actually speaking on how to fund earlier stage innovation through national and European funding opportunities, grants, but not only. We spoke about Eurostars, we spoke about the European Innovation Institute, but now we have you, and you have already brought up to speed your innovations, and we're looking forward to hear more about them. Afterwards, we will have a discussion, very informal. We will also be responding to questions online, but everything one after the other. Max, I'm giving the floor to you. I hope you are able to hear me well. Once again, thank you for joining us, and let's see how you are building the CERN for AI. What is your institutional blueprint, and how Bulgaria can be part of this blueprint?
Yes, hello everybody, thank you. I'm going to share my screen first. One moment. Okay. Can you see the screen here? Yes?
Yes, perfectly, thank you.
Okay, great. Then, first of all, I think I hear some echo for myself. There might be something going on. I think I'm gonna, right, this sounds a little better. Okay. Alright, thank you everybody for sitting here, but also for the organizers to invite me. I was asked to talk about CERN for AI, and that's what my organization and my program is actually specializing on. So what I want to give you here is an outline of what I would like really to talk about. Quick introduction. Talking about CERN for AI and the EU priorities, so why actually this is happening right now. A blueprint and the current status report. I have a lot of announcements. Some of them were very positive, so also to give a little up-to-date version of what's going on here. Alright, so let's get into this. Just briefly, I'm working for the Center for Future Generations. Very briefly, we have an independent think tank based in Brussels, where I'm also right now, focusing on the governance of emerging technologies. And as you can see here, it's like 5 different projects we have: advanced AI, biotech, climate interventions, neurotech and quantum technology. But of course, today I'm here talking about advanced AI. That is me. I'm the director at CFG. I'm also a board member of the Talos Network, which is like a current pipeline for AI governance in the EU specifically. And I have been working in various think tanks before in the UK and Switzerland. And I have a very, let's say, colorful academic background, where AI has been always the red flag, actually. So my work, as you can imagine, is very multidisciplinary as well. That being said, let's move to the actual important part. CERN for AI and EU priorities. Just to give you like a feeling where we start the conversation, we're saying that the moment of truth for Europe's AI industry has come. Looking at it, we see that the EU has a lot of talent, right, a lot of data, but we don't see, if we are honest with ourselves, a very booming AI industry, specifically compared maybe to the US and China. We have seen, and it has been also discussed in various reports from, for example, Trakia, that some of the AI companies are rather struggling. We have also some national champions, for example. In Germany, we have Alpha. In France, we have Mistral AI, for example, they were having more famous and get a lot of attention. We have seen that Alpha has kind of given up, pivoting from creating large models to, AI support, as they call it. In France, we have Mistral AI that is flirting with American investors, let's say it like that. So there are not a lot of other huge contestants that can actually compete with, for example, the American counterparts. Just as another comparison, there's this Hugging Free Place Arena, which is like a global leaderboard for models, general purpose AI models. And the best European model by Mistral AI is actually on the spot 34. So that means all the others from 1 to 33 are actually Chinese or mostly actually US models. And that can be, of course, a problem if you want to be competitive. One crucial factor is not necessarily that the companies are doing something wrong, but more that we don't have a lot of compute, a lot of hardware, AI chips, so to speak. Just as a comparison here, on the left side we have EuroHPC, this European high performance cluster, offering a lot of compute to SMEs and research centers, and you have Microsoft on the other side, and the side of those bubbles represent how much compute they have available, AI chips specifically. You have 32,000 chips for EuroHPC. You have 1.8 million for just Microsoft as one company. So you can imagine if you take all the chips, all the compute that we have, and spread a lot among a lot of different actors, you can help everybody a little bit, but it's really hard to compete against, just for example, Microsoft. So having enough compute is quite crucial to be competitive, so to speak. That is something we saw is kind of missing as incentives and as help in the European space. I think there's an opportunity though for the EU, as Mario Draghi put in his famous report that came out in September. So I'll read that quote briefly to you. It's, with the world on the cusp of an AI revolution, Europe cannot afford to remain stuck in the middle technologies and industries of the previous century. Some very harsh words, but there is an opportunity, as Draghi puts it. And we can use this opportunity to deliver on the political priorities of our time. The political priorities of our time, especially on the EU level, are economic competitiveness and security. I think for the competitiveness angle, it's pretty clear. We know, I think, that AI seems to be somehow important, right? It's not just chatbots, of course, it's way more than that. And it has a lot of influence, a lot of verticals, like in the industry, manufacturing, in healthcare, in the government itself, right? So it has a lot of impact, potentially, especially. That's why the EU, for example, sees it as important to be, or to stay, or to become, let's say, more competitive. And of course, there's a security angle, for war, basically. It is quite crucial to work on that too, and to be able to focus on misinformation, on cybersecurity efforts, and it's quite important, but also on strategic autonomy, as it's becoming more and more clear with the case of the US maybe not being the greatest ally to Europe anymore. Alright, so this is basically the why and motivation of why maybe some bigger efforts are required, and it has been discussed a lot in the EU in the last few months. We have seen some signs from the line, and we'll come to this in a moment. But basically what I will do now is showing a little bit of how this blueprint for software can actually look like. And we see some of those recommendations being already adopted by the Commission in this regard. So let's get into it. We had a first report in September where we worked really a lot on different ideas, talking to industry actors, talking to the public sector, talking to civil society organizations, citizens, and we identified a few criteria, factors, elements that seem relevant. I don't want to go through everything, it's going to be just boring, but you can see here that there's world-class leadership that we of course need to make good decisions. Competitive compute infrastructure is really important, as I tried to explain before. Without a lot of compute, you will not be able to train the models or to run the models, so you will not be getting a lot of the benefits. The private sector involvement is really crucial here, and can't be just something coming from the public sector. International partnerships, benefit sharing, there's a lot of things, but I want to go in a few elements that seem quite relevant also to today's discussion. So what we're looking at, and which fits really well with the public announcements, is that the core mission is really important for CERN for AI, as it has been also for CERN itself, the original in Geneva. And we see it as something like this here. I'm going to break it down in a moment. I'm just going to read it first, and I'm going to break it down. We see the core mission as the pioneering of the science of trustworthy general-purpose AI systems, and to accelerate AI applications that enrich society to promote Europe's security and prosperity, right? So what does it mean? Pioneer, because the trustworthy general-purpose AI systems don't exist yet. We have to actually do this. This is a really good niche that we see that Europe can fill, and we can see that the EU seems to agree with that. It fits really well with the announcements. Trustworthy is here important. Has to be lawful, ethical, and robust. You want a system to do what you tell them to do, right? They have to be reliable, especially if you're going to use them in industry, right, or in high precision sectors. You might have to make sure that they actually do what you want them to do. That's a very non-trivial problem, actually. Much harder, scientifically speaking, than one might imagine. General purpose AI, because it's the Swiss Army knife of the digital world. You can train this, you can do particular tasks that it hasn't been trained to do specifically. Models become more capable. There are of course limitations, but it's a very promising avenue that is being explored right now. And finally, applications. We don't want, like the original CERN, that focus only on research, on theoretical research. We want to have a combination of the theoretical fundamental research on the one hand, and on the applications on the other hand. It has to be useful, useful for the economy, useful for society, and only then it actually makes sense. That is basically the idea, what can stand behind the CERN for AI. And again, it fits really well the public announcements by von der Leyen and the Commission. In that sense, what we're discussing with various actors is, the research streams that could actually serve that. What we're looking here at is, you have fundamental research, you have scaling, you apply it, and you have also hardware groups. Just give you some examples, and it's not, of course, just that, right? It's going to be much more. But for fundamental research, we're looking at something like, for example, mechanistic interpretability. Understanding how those neural networks actually work, and what how do you make sure that the changes in the weights between those neurons actually indicate particular properties or that understand what how you can actually map the input to output. This is like a fundamental problem. There's many more problems with the fundamental that need to actually be addressed to make those models downstream more useful. But if you have that, you can scale it also to foundation models. You would go on the applied level, want to make it very specific. Here's an example on for material sciences. You could, for example, look at you can use those kind of models for example, carbon capture technologies. You can look at the solvents and the membranes where you need material sciences, where AI could actually help to invent actually new materials to make those technologies more efficient, which could help fighting climate change, right? And of course, the hardware side, you want to have more energy efficient chips, right? Sustainability is a huge issue, needs to be addressed. Making chips, for example, more efficient, of course, means you need less compute, means less, you need actually, you require less computation and therefore have a, reduced impact on the environment, for example. All right, what we get often as questions is, like, how much does it cost, right? If you look over the next 3 years, we have a breakdown where we calculated like a few things. Let's go from big items to small items very quickly. You can see the red part here is just 30 billion euros. It's not like a change, right? It's quite a lot of money. With particular, for example, NVIDIA chips that will cost a lot of money if you compare against other similar sized LUs in other regions, both in China also in the US. Then you have here like other costs like buildings, cooling, physical infrastructure. You want to interconnect that, and only then you get actually to staff and energy costs basically for operations. So basically, the majority of the money goes actually into the compute, into the hardware. This is one of those GB200 AI chips that are currently used state of the art. We basically look at roughly 25 billion that you basically need, roll-up data centers that have those kind of chips, or of course more modern chips, to actually use. As I said before, we have a lot of in the EU and the member states, we have a lot of data, a lot of great talent, right? But you want to leverage that, right? And you want to use that, and for any compute. Without compute, you can't really easily leverage this. So again, this is kind of the bottleneck that can be unlocked if you actually have that. If you have more compute, you can spend it more on uncorrelated bets, and if you have those, you can basically have a higher chance for breakthroughs to actually have more powerful or more trustworthy models actually. And of course, the involvement of member states, also such as Bulgaria, of course, and the private sector will be really crucial for the actually implementation of that to make it actually work. That's going to be like a huge, interesting orchestration of various actors coming together in the next months and in coming year. Research structure, 2 more points. Now research structure. We have a lot of questions on that. Is it supposed to be like the original CERN, have it mostly in one place, put it all together, put all the talent and resources together? And we feel like, yes and no. We suggest having ARPA-style agencies with dedicated in-house teams of so-called focused research organizations. I explain what this means in a moment. So you have the ARPA-style agencies, that is basically a model that is used in the US, specifically DARPA, the military projects there, but it's basically very distributed in a way. So we actually coordinate across a distributed network. You actually try to go for high risk, high reward bets. So something that usually both academia and industry don't really pursue. What does it mean? It means that, especially compared to how the EU gives money out usually, or a lot of the research funding in academia is happening, it's like they try to be risk averse, right? Like something that probably works, which makes sense. However, we also foster like a culture in that way of investment that is going to be, say, really risk averse. The upper Stara model basically offers that you identify high reward options across the board. They apply. It's also high risk though, so it probably won't work. But a few of those actually work. They actually have like a high reward, right? So that's what you want to identify. And you give the program directors that run those things like a lot of autonomy, right? Now, we want to cut red tape, we want to make it easy for that. That's the other model. That's something that also Mario Draghi in his report supports very, very strongly. That's the distributed model. You also want though to have focused research organizations on the other hand, like efficient in-house teams. Sometimes you want to refine, for example, the upper Stara model on the left side. You find you test a lot of things. Most of them will need agglomerate talent, right? And then you want to make sure that you can scale this in the most efficient way. This is basically how it really works. So first upper Stara, very broad, identify the most important things, the most promising things, and then scale it up. Also, it's going to be very relevant to the focused research organizations when it comes to security issues, right? Models at some point, get more and more dangerous. You might have dual use capabilities, and a lot of research brands, also the Reddel Corporation, looking at that, having a keen eye on this, on the developments there. But you also have just for data price. You don't want to spread it all over the place. You want to make sure that there's more higher security standards for some particular projects. So you kind of with the both of those have benefits of both worlds, ideally. Of course, a lot of people ask, we always get those questions about centralization. And what we recommend is centralized talent and compute resources only when necessary, right? So if you put it into two columns here, decentralized and centralized, we want to have the upper model as a very decentralized way of funding the promising, high risk, high reward projects. So you want to make it very decentralized. Use the many hubs that are existent in the European space. You don't have to bring everybody in the same place for that. Use the existing infrastructure already, right? And for the compute, we also suggest you don't want to have everything in one place. Doesn't matter of sense, but have maybe 4 or 5, data centers compute. In different places. Don't overdo it because it can be quite expensive to interconnect and have lots of issues. So, in some way, decentralize this aspect, but not too much. For the focused research organization, the flow like that is useful to have in one place. So we might have to have one big talent hub where you pull those very promising projects that have been identified, right, that have been tested. Proof of concept, we want to do it in one place. Not course operations will also have to be in one place. You can even combine the focused research organization side with the operation side. It makes sense. Again, you have decentralized and centralized elements in there. Usually it makes a lot of people happy. International partnerships. Yes. Is it just an EU thing? No. I think we need to be remaining open to partnerships with like-minded non-EU countries, right? Why? We want to expand the scale and lower financial risk. More countries joining means they bring talent, know-how, funding to the table as well, that actually makes it easier to scale up, right, and to diversify the risk over more actors, which is great. We also have a precedent case already from the Horizon Europe project, actually, where also countries like Canada and UK and Switzerland have been involved and have received also funding for particular projects. So there's no reason why we can't do this here as well, right? And of course, we have to think about membership criteria and security tiers. That's going to be relevant. Not everybody can have the same kind of access to all the most advanced models. If you're very like-minded, democracy friendly, right, you probably want to do that. Other countries might have, more limited access, especially if you want to go even far further, right, than the European space. But that's something that needs to be decided by other people. On that note, we have published one report. In September, we have published a second report, which is Building CERN for AI, an institutional blueprint, after talking to a lot of stakeholders. Basically, if you want to look into this for more details, additional recommendations, please have a look there. The goal was really to move the discussion from, just abstract, broad conversations to actually concrete plans. We want this to happen sooner than later. That's our website, cfd.eu. If you put this in, you will find the report. Happy always to get feedback, all other perspectives. We always strive to improve further. But that's so much for the blueprint. Now, last bit here, status report. Where are we now? That's maybe one of the most interesting aspects, because recently we had announcements. Actually, we had our president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, at the AI Summit in Paris, announcing a lot of different things. That she talked about CERN for AI and AI investment in general, and she said here it will be the largest public-private partnership in the world for the development of trustworthy AI, which is great to see that there is at least commitment and actually financial commitment to some degree already. That seems very promising. And from all those announcements, we also see that the mission is clear, to develop trustworthy AI. We look at the right scale, that we have established 4 AI gigafactories, which are huge data centers, which are supposed to train very large models. It's great to see that mirrors quite well our recommendations from our reports. And of course, this whole, bold public investment, it's going to be great, I think, for the communities here, scientists and companies, research institutions. It can do quite a lot of good if done properly. And of course, it's maintaining, keeping the talent here, but also attracting local talent. I think if you actually have a lot of, funding and infrastructure, you can actually get a lot of things done, which is, again, great to have. So we see those developments in public announcements extremely positive. We now just want to make sure that it continues and more actors are participating in the conversation, because it's an important one. For example, just for the 4 AI gigafactories, there's going to be 20 billion being spent on that, right? That is just for the infrastructure, which is a lot of money. You can waste that money, but you can also, get a lot of good things out of it. And with that, thank you for listening from what is happening in Brussels. From my side, you can reach me via this email address. I will also be sharing my slides with the organizers that said they would share the slides with the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Max. It was a pleasure, and please stay with us because we will have questions. I'm using the opportunity to present.
Thank you. If I may,
present your presentation, Kristina. Yes.
Very interesting insight. And as I have been rich information, I have some question to you. Next to the European AI Forum, recently we made, of course, our study to understand what is the need of the business, exactly the private sector when it comes to artificial intelligence, public infrastructure, access to data, all these major things. And what we getting as a feedback is on first hand, of course, it is access to data. We all know there is a huge amount of public infrastructure, for just example, either bioimaging, but many more, digital hubs for health data, for other type of data, but still the access to those data is not clear for the business. It's not assessed and analyzed in a proper way, and most of the time there are no certain models. This service or this set of information will cost this and this money. And of course, the ownership of the IPR is part of the concerns coming from the business. So, in this matter, can you please share with us what is your approach on those topics? And yet, of course, one of the things also that I miss, and the business pointed as, let's say, obstacle for them, is the non-existing dedicated AI data spaces. Also, though they use in China, in US, and India partially, but still in Europe we don't have them. So my question to you is, according to those needs and let's say obstacles that business share with us, do you have some ideas and future plans? Thank you.
Yes, the question of data is a really big one. It comes up in a lot of roundtables and panels and like all the time here. It's a huge problem. I think from a regulation perspective, it's also like a little bit pushed down sometimes of like, oh, others will take care of that, and sometimes it's on the SMEs, right, and the other actors. I think by having particular co-ownership from the public sector now, for example, for AI, you have a huge incentive shift in a way to actually make it easier to, have more access, easy access to data, but by the way still complying to, DSA, DMA, GDPR regulations, etc. So what we see, we hear different things about European data house, like projects, things are being discussed to make things easier. It will be very clear from those huge announcements and projects that the data component will be also quite important, and it needs to be solved in a way that is easier. My belief is still that because the public sector now co-owns that in a way, they have increased incentive to make it work because they also have to figure it out. So I would expect this to become better, indeed.
Also, from your perspective, because when it comes to cooperation between public and private organization, usually there is like a some assumption that if you use the public infrastructure or servicing, it's supposed to be somehow free, but still there is a question about the IPR. From our perspective, of course, it's not free. Every type of services and labor supposed to be paid in their way, but what about the IPR? I see more and more public organizations that, let's say, they don't have idea who will keep the IPR or IPs if there is something breaking from such cooperation. So, what do you think on this topic, and is it possible somehow to be resolved?
Yes. The question of IP specifically is one that we have been also covering quite a bit. We are quite uncertain at the moment about how this should be best handled in the CERN for AI. I think it will depend just on the other voices. I think there is going to be a public consultation process that anyone can participate in. That will be started in the coming months. So I definitely invite also businesses to definitely participate, right? To share your views on that. The short and boring answer is, in a way, we don't have a clear answer. I think it needs to be a bigger conversation with the relevant stakeholders here, which in this case is also businesses. So I feel reluctant to give a very clear recommendation on that. Yeah, again, it's kind of the boring answer, but it is what it is.
I'll try to call it now, of course, and documentation is needed. I hope that you will invite us and come to us. We have this experience and good relationship with the business. I'm happy to support. And finally, from outside, of course, probably from the audience, if they have question, are most welcome. But I will keep one more for you. Is of course the public infrastructure dedicated on artificial intelligence. In this matter, also the National Centers of Competence in Semiconductors next to GPU. Program, the HPC program you mentioned already, the digital innovation hubs, the CERN different facilities. How you see the cooperation and chain as a probably one-stop shop for the companies and researchers in order to use all the facilities, infrastructure, capabilities, but not, I don't know, sometimes with each of them, but yeah, more general way. I see the plan for multiple quadra, but still if you have more ideas how actually those infrastructure can work together and to provide more one-stop shop solution, I think it will be brilliant.
Yeah. Great questions. To be honest, the public announcements at this stage have been so scarce in detail that it's everybody's best guess of what it actually means and how the collaboration would be and the use of the infrastructure. It might be similar to the AI factories. That is another initiative already happening and being built out more, also from 2 billion to 10 billion now. But the gigafactories themselves is like another new thing. So we have really little certainty on how this actually looks like. We definitely have some ideas, and it really depends in how the Commission, but also the member states being involved and stepping up to the negotiations on that, right, will shape the conversation. It's very unclear and very early at this stage. It really will depend on who is actually interested in participating in that. So I hope that there will be like a much closer relationship, right, to industry, because again, I think it's going to be very useful if you actually have the direct line and the direct applications. You don't do just theoretical research, but you actually think it completely through, and that's where the application layer and the industry will be crucial. Again, I invite more people to join that public conversation because it's necessary. I think we need more voices and experts weighing in on that. Yeah.
Thank you, Max. Kristina, do we have some questions from the audience? And yeah, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Kristina. Even though you are on the highway.
Yeah, probably some technical issues. I think in this.
No, it's here.
Yes. So thank you very much, Kristina, for being able to join us on the highway. You are not the driver. I'm just informing the audience. So have a safe trip. Of course, you can stay with us online. We have a good network coverage on Bulgarian roads. That's good. We are not leaders in the 5G transformation competition, but we have high-speed bandwidth connectivity across the country, so this enabled us to have you. Yes, we have one question, but due to time constraints, I will actually address the question, and only Max, if you want to add something on top, then you are invited to join. So the question is very general, but important, of course, coming from Egypt, and it's addressing the following matter. How is the models behaving on non-Latin languages? And my response to this question, thank you actually to our colleague joining us from Egypt, even though we're a European Digital Innovation Hub, we'll be happy to become a European Mediterranean Digital Innovation Hub. So my answer to this question would be that due to the extensive training of data, translation is not necessarily an issue, but it can be an issue, of course, in certain use cases. For example, when it comes to training data availability, obviously this is not always the case, especially around smaller models and smaller teams developing these models. There are further technical complications that may occur related to tokenization challenges, related to script complexity, and certain languages are simply a bit particular, specific. For example, we may have lower accuracy, but all in all, there are ways identified to address these challenges. So if you are speaking of models as the European Mistral, if you're speaking of other big models that are being developed under the umbrella of OpenAI and other such big corporations, I'm sure they're handling translation challenges well. If we're speaking about smaller models or models in corporate settings that different companies are developing themselves, then definitely they might need support to address these challenges. Max, if there is something you would like to add on this question, of course, as a subject matter expert, you're more than welcome to respond. I just, before giving you the opportunity to address, want to add something from my end. I don't want to make it a conversation because we do not have the time, but I would be very grateful if in the blueprint that you're developing, the CERN for AI a blueprint, you're able to address one particular challenge. It is related to both research matters and also practical matters. This challenge is that the people who are managing currently the big computational facilities, infrastructure, the ones that are behind the Euro HPC initiative, they still assess the needs of businesses for computation as if they're assessing Horizon 2020, 2017, whatever project. So we try to support 2 small and medium enterprises in Bulgaria last year as a digital hub. We helped them craft a good project proposal for the Fortissimo consortium and project, I suppose you're aware. Basically, it would have provided these companies free access to high performance computing. They had very, very good needs. They needed to do real-time price calculations because one of our clients was in the fast-moving consumer goods industry. The other client was working in the field of cybersecurity and wanted to analyze big data to address ransomware challenges. Both projects were denied. They were denied by the people that should be democratizing access to high-performance computing, and they were denied with the reasons related to the fact that this project did not have a very good ratio between the different working packages. One working package was a bit smaller, the other was a bit bigger. This professor had a professorship in this area but had to have it in another area, which is total BS. I'm sorry I cannot say it with less emotion because it is BS, and because if we are continuing in this course, we can build not 4 or 5 AI gigafactories, we can build 40 or 50 and still Europe is going to lack simply because this is not how we are helping small and medium enterprises by basically denying their needs to leverage AI, to leverage big data, to leverage HPC, other deep technologies your institute is working, the Center for Future Generations. We are simply not helping them by treating them as fundamental researchers that need to write fundamental research when they actually want to express their needs. So are you and is the blueprint addressing this challenge with certain recommendations? This is the strategic question and my only question I wanted to ask. And yes, why not address the question that our colleague had from Egypt on something far more technical as the challenges in translating when models are doing the translation work.
Yes, that's basically like a problem that we have identified as well really early on with the current EU instruments and the funding kind of landscape, that the decisions that are being made on how to give up funding basically are not great. I think this is something that we consider a huge potential failure mode for bigger investments as well, as you say, because even if you have like 50 such data centers, it will not work if the decision-making process will be back. So we are particularly highlighting the leadership and the model behind that, of like what we recommend of like who should be the people that actually decide that. We have a whole governance structure in place that should empower the directors and the program directors and to make decisions on who gets money for high risk, high reward pursuits. To enable that basically. Like we see the huge issue. We are proposing solutions to that. Happy to get feedback on that, but it will take too long to really explain and we will need to look at a big diagram and everything. But this is like a problem we definitely see one of the big failure modes that could occur. We're trying to clear that by having proper leadership, proper decision-making process in place to really and cut the red tape really, because without, if you just look at, as you said in your example, like the particular packages in the proposal were differently sized and you decline that. That's not how you should do this, right? I totally agree. That's what we're trying to address in our report that came out like a month ago, yes. I hope that is okay answer to the question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much, and I hope the audience. So once more, thank you very much. I hope the audience used the time wisely and heard the many great things you were sharing with us as your vision and your center's vision for the future of AI. Now you can remain with us on the call because we have Izodor waiting and we do not want to make him wait anymore. Of course, I'm sure that for him it was also very interesting to hear the discussion around the CERN for AI blueprint. But Izodor is also working on as a researcher at the University of in Slovenia, Maribor. It's Maribor, the right pronunciation. I know it because I am watching ski competitions. so Izodor, thank you for joining us from Slovenia, I suppose, right now. Of course, you're representing a far bigger pan-European consortium, the SOLARIS Project, which also includes a Bulgarian partner, by the way. So we are very proud for our country to be represented in the consortium, which is addressing the need to strengthen democratic engagement when it comes to a value-based generative adversarial network inclusion or involvement. For generative adversarial networks, I'm not sure that all that are listening are aware exactly what it means. So I would be very grateful if you start with a few words on this particular manner before going further into the SOLARIS project itself and your work. And also one comment on my end. Today I tried to express this concept because I presented the agenda to our audience in the hall in Stara, Zagora, and I gave a very good example. Actually, I stole from Kristina. So the example is the following. Currently, we have people writing European EU funding project applications using AI. So they use ChatGPT, for example, to write their application, their project. And then we have another problem because the reviewers of these projects are also using generative AI to review these projects and assess them. So in the end, it's there is a place for a generative adversarial network because this type of system can help the ones that are writing the projects with AI write them better, so they sound more natural, more realistic, while in the same time the ones that are reviewing are also advancing and trying to catch if this is AI generated or not AI generated, the system itself that is reviewing the projects. At the end of the day, I don't know if this is a good example of how to represent what a GAN system is, but I try to express it in this way. And I also said that at the end it doesn't matter the zero-sum game, simply because you can have a AI written project, but people would need to execute, and if this is not really easy to execute the project itself, then it will eventually fail, despite the fact it may have been granted funding and someone may have been tricked that these ideas are actually natural and they have been written by a team of experts. So yes, this is an example, real example. Kristina shared with us, I shared with the audience. I don't know if this example is in a way reflecting what a GAN network is, but do tell us in the beginning your expert view on the matter, because this is why we are having you on the call with us. Izodor, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for inviting me. I'll keep my camera off for now. I just put it on for a minute so to conserve my speed as well. Sometimes internet is buckling here. Well, on that topic of people writing with LLM, people chatting with LLMs, I wouldn't say it's an issue. It's something that's normal. AI is actually not a bad thing if you know how to use it. And I can already tell you that yes, I use it a lot, and I always, when my students use the AI, yeah, they're not good in using it because they don't read what it writes, and there are ways to tell it, but as you will see in one of my slides, it's becoming very, very hard to understand what AI generated and what was generated by a human, especially in text where you only have a single modality, that is text. If you look at videos, we have more modalities, more things to look at, like tax that just work. So it will become even more problematic, but in the end, yes, people need to execute the project. So to be honest, I would not even bother of looking at what AI generates. I would rather read the content and see if the content makes sense. And for that, rather need to be an expert person as well. So I have a bigger issue with people using AI to interpret and analyze rather than have writing things for them. If you prompt it good, it's good. So my expertise in general, I'm a PI of a smaller research group at our University of Maribor. I deal a lot, I'm a technical person, electrical engineer. My use of and development of AI and similar technologies is mostly focused on health applications and also health applications with vulnerable groups, including children with dementia. But in this project, I am joining the consortium basically to understand what will be the future. When we wrote the proposal, guns were only available. A couple of us researchers that have enough, let's say, computing power, but now technology is there, everybody can use it, so I think it's even more important. The project itself has now even a bigger node. It's not only guns, it's basically generative AI and AI in general. So, what the project is about. SOLARIS Project addresses challenges and opportunities presented by, generative adversarial networks, but generative AI, concerning democratic governance, citizen engagement, and the spread of disinformation. But understand that still in the real many people, what AI is passing to face. What you could argue that also whatever AI generates is a fake word. We call it rather not fake content, but artificial content. The project aims to analyze the political risks associated with this technology, to sort of support the regulatory innovations, to mitigate risks that this technology creates, and to explore the potential of technology to enhance democratic awareness. So basically, AI for good, AI citizenship, AI visualizing history, etc. All those things we already foresaw that could be relevant. And now they're actually 2.5 years after they're actually very relevant. Yes, the consortium is, let's say, quite big. It is a multidisciplinary consortium, 12 partners. Yes, one is from Bulgaria as well. We combine technical expertise in artificial intelligence with social science perspective and democracy and citizen engagement. We have universities, research institutions, Run Media Bulgaria, which is a media organization, ANSA from Italy, which is a media organization, to basically ensure a really comprehensive and holistic approach to project objectives. And we also have a partner that is outside European Union. It's a partner from Albania. Actually, the ministry represents the government of. So what are key objectives of our project? As I mentioned, to analyze political risks linked with generative AI to prevent negative impact on our democracy in this era of uncertainty. This is also quite relevant. This involves identifying potential threats to electoral processes, public discourse, institutional trust that can actually stem from the malicious use of the technology. We want to establish regulatory regulations for the risks of this deep fakes in parentheses, and we want to develop sort of practical tools and frameworks and strategies to identify how we perceive this technology and how we counter because, as you know, fact checkers don't work. We want to assess if also the opportunities that guns provide with citizen engagement in democratic processes, so not only bad, actually good as well. We are exploring the possible potential of guns, also not only democratic participation, but also civic education. And we want to sort of co-create value-based content that involves citizen science to enhance democratic engagement. So what is actually SOLARIS? You see this image, I don't know if it's big enough, but overall goal of technical goal of SOLARIS was to develop and apply technical tools and methods to understand and address impact of generative AI in the democratic process. So key technical elements here are data collection and analysis, mostly social media data, and other available public repositories, then natural language processing and sentiment analysis. Then of course we sort of look at the deepfake detection, development, operation of methods that could detect deepfakes, but more focused on the human perspective of it, that is on how humans understand, perceive, and evaluate whether something is fake or not. Then agent-based modeling, value-based content co-creation, we try to develop user-friendly interfaces so that we can actually sort of enable researchers to create content and to research with this content, while at the moment, of course, the platform is closed because we do not want to create a pandemic of deepfakes to our open platform. We're leveraging mostly GPU-based computing for model training, and of course, we're dealing all the time with ethics of data protection. So, what are SOLARIS use cases? The first SOLARIS use case aims at understanding the psychological aspects of generative content on perceived trustworthiness. While the use case is almost finished, it involves investigating how individuals assess the credibility and reliability of content generated by generative AI. We consider factors such as visual cues, source information, and of course the existing biases. And the goal was to identify the psychological mechanisms that would influence trust in guns and to develop strategies for promoting informed decision making, basically the face of potentially pandemic of this. The second use case is designed to simulate the circulation of threatening guns on let's say, sort of not social media, but yes, to simulate social media and to detect risks and design mitigation strategies, mostly focused on how traditional media should counteract. So we model the spread of deepfakes and disinformation, and then we want to sort of observe how the countermeasures by either governmental institutions or the media themselves are carried out so that we can create more efficient policies. That use case will be carried out in May, Rome, and one of the answers. The third use case is to me the most interesting one because it actually focuses on citizens, how generative AI is awareness of key global demographic topics, climate change, gender dimension, human migration, how this technology can actually co-create with citizens to be useful to principle. So we want to empower individuals to participate in the production of the content, but a responsible participation. As I said before, it's not the problem of the use of AI itself, but trusting into AI completely, not reading what AI writes, not thinking about the claims that are generated by the AI. So critical thinking is the key element of the use of AI. But for this presentation, I will also now go a bit more into detail on our use case one, where we actually have quite a lot of results already. So what were objectives of our use case one? I outlined it before. Basically, in public opinion at the moment, generative AI can be used in various ways. Sadly or luckily, it can also be used to shape public opinion on major societal issues. For instance, generative AI can create a perception of widespread agreement on some issues where such an agreement does not exist. To generate content at scale, imagine a couple of bots generating, even not only the content itself, but even the arguments, the communication between the people that actually don't exist, AI-generated people. So it can make it appear that there is more support for certain viewpoints that actually exist. AI can also amplify the spread of disinformation, not only with the production, but as I said, with very cost-effective ways and very credible ways of spreading disinformation, unprecedented speed and intention. Also, AI has very good network analysis capabilities, so it can establish multiple files, which could allow for malicious entities to target specific audiences with tailored disinformation. So now it's not only fake content that you create, which doesn't exist in the real world. You can actually, using AI, tailor it to a specific requirement for a specific group of people to believe this content. Of course, it can be also effective in finding consensus between groups and individuals themselves. But the point is that it's not only a negative element. It also has a positive note. It can educate citizens on democratic principles and policies. It can manage massive political conversations, moderate them in chat rooms. It can offer summarizing options. It can even act as a consensus builder, not as an active participant, but more in a moderating role. It can help also politicians to better understand citizens' views, because now they can get a lot of feedback, and that feedback can be efficiently summarized, so you don't have to go read through all the content, but actually, from 1 million of responses, you get a good thematic analysis. You can understand what people actually are saying. And generative AI can provide also accurate and timely information. They can, of course, they can counter misinformation as well and promote effective responses during emergency public events. So it is a saying that only AI will in the end be able to recognize the content that was generated with the AI. So what we investigated in this is basically we wanted to manipulate content. We chose 2 topics, climate change and immigration. We specifically did not want to go anywhere near Ukrainian war because it was too hot of a political topic. We didn't want to go anywhere near the issues that are now in Gaza again. Too much, let's say, emotional elements in this. We wanted basically to address a topic that is sort of very timely. It's there forever. It's not a momentary, societal problem that actually exists. And we then manipulated content in terms of source credibility, information credibility, and presentation. We created 6 video editions for each topic. So we had a real video with positive and negative attitudes. We had high quality AI generated content, again, positive and negative views, and low quality AI-generated content, again, positive attitudes. And the key factors in this were, again, selected for a specific reason. So in climate change, it was Greta Thunberg as a clear proponent of this climate change, and Donald Trump as clearly a person that promotes that climate change is not real. So you see, you have these two really two persons on the extreme sides of the spectrum. And in immigration, we have Justin Trudeau and Viktor Orban, and the same concept. We wanted also to use someone from Europe instead of Justin Trudeau, but we couldn't find enough material of him speaking publicly in English, a person from Europe. And then we asked people to look at these videos and actually ask them if the video is real and right, if the participants find the video trustworthy, if the video is aligned with their general political orientation, and if it promotes positive or negative attitudes towards the issue, and then, of course, the final one, if they will share the content. So now in the next slide, I will actually showcase the videos. Please consider these videos were generated by AI. I have to give you this notice. They cannot be reused, and they were only there for research purposes. And in most videos, again, this is not what the actual people are saying or believing. So yeah, this is something that needs to be said. But in any case, so you can see this is the first one on the top. I don't know if you hear the audio, but it's actually a real video. Okay, it's a real video taken from the garden.
No sounds, unfortunately.
You cannot hear the sound, right? But it doesn't matter. It's not the point. The point is you see the video. It's quite good of quality. Now we can go to the BBC video where the BBC logo is, and this one is actually AI generated. Okay? And of course, also the text is AI generated, but it represents mostly the values that are aligned with the speakers. Real life. Imagine you get this video somewhere on the social media. I don't know how many of you, when you look at it, would say it's not real video. That's how good and even better AI can be today. And then you have a low quality video, where of course in this is again intentionally we took the low quality video so that it's clear that this is not what Greta would ever say. And actually AI generated completely text that is completely misaligned with her beliefs. You see some tough subtitles. So in principle, even this one, not everybody can see that it's fake. And so now I'll move on to the result. So we finished. So these results actually are from United Kingdom, but we have a parallel study in Slovenia and Italy. And from United Kingdom, we have 48 people that were recruited via an online panel. So we didn't know who they are. There were no restrictions. The gender was quite balanced, and 29% female, and they were, let's say, working age adult population that is also quite susceptible at the moment to this drugs. They were not too young, and they were not too old. They were, and if you look at this, only a third of participants successfully detected high quality deepfakes, whereas only about have recognized low quality deepfakes. So you see, even if it's bad, 50% of people will still think it's real. And if it's good, 67% of people will probably think it is actually real video. So that's one of the issues of the AI itself. Of course, subtitles a bit distort the picture, they can sometimes contribute, but it really depends how good we integrate the subtitles. Now, the more concerning thing of all this is that 33% of people said they would immediately reshare high-quality deepfakes on social media, even those high-quality deepfakes that are completely misaligned with what actually in the real world the person is thinking or saying. And 30%, yes, 30% of people would also share the low-quality deepfake on social media. So basically, what are the main risk factors for this type of action? That we identify them, it's perceived trustworthiness of deepfake content. So you see the logo of BBC or the logo of another thing plays a significant role. The source for which, of course, this video was sent to you also plays a lot of quite a huge role. Of course, the opinion about the person in the video plays a significant role. If you don't like the person, you might think about the content a bit more. If you like or support the person and it looks good, yeah, you will think it is actually real video. And of course, higher social media use is one of the risk factors as well, because you do it on the routine. That's the problem. Of course, the only protective factor is media literacy. This is sort of well known, and I think that next is that yes, AI regulation itself it is needed, but I think also we need to start thinking how citizens to manage it, survive this world where you actually do not know what is real and what is not. So that's the end of my presentation. Much and I will stop sharing this.
Yeah, thank you, Izodor. Quite impressive. Actually, by taking the name of the project SOLARIS, of course, the great science will mention that before we go to discover the space, we first need to know ourselves and the nature that is existing around us. So in this matter, combination with the social science and technology is quite impressive. And my first question to you, I will share some insight that I gathered recently from Taiwan. This year, last year, at the beginning of last year, they used to have election, and a lot of disinformation surrounded next to this election. They tried any type of solution, also even provide huge awards if somebody find out the solution like Orient constellation. To protect them, to have this knowledge to understand which website or news is fake or not. And finally, they resolved the problem by collecting and connecting all the stakeholders, starting from national and private television, radio station, politician, and expert academia. And every day, they actually discuss each piece of new current viral news. In this point, my question to you, do you think that this could be a possible solution, probably to get more on the, I don't know, to have more and rely on human approach, or probably there will be some certain breakthrough for protecting and to having this knowledge which content is provided and created by AI. So this is the first question from your observation, of course.
Yeah, it's a very complex topic and it goes into human psyche in principle and our beliefs. So that's the problem. I don't think there is technology in this world that will actually enable us or that we will trust that is correct when it says something is right or wrong. In the end, there are still people that believe in purpose life. So you see that's the problem. So we need a human approach. So a typical example in Europe is how did we reduce smoke? We attacked smoking from all possible social perspectives. It's not only a health issue, it's not only money issue, it's everything in between. And this is also, it's even harder with AI because AI is not something tangible. It doesn't, so yes, okay, smoking kills, we believe that, and then, okay, yes, you'll stop smoking, you'll not start smoking. It has a significant impact on your life. But in principle, AI doesn't, or at least you are not aware that it does. So I think from a technology point of view, we tried fact checkers, right, for years. And they don't work, people don't use fact checkers. Because they don't trust them, they don't believe in them. Some people think that the government is behind it, etc., etc. A lot of technological things are simply disregarded because people sometimes even don't want it. So we need to increase the literacy of it, and of course we need also for people to understand that maybe they might be protected from negative content generated in EU itself. But we are not living in EU home. We are open to global world and in global sense, nobody is protected. Because AI, looking at it from a global perspective, doesn't exist. It will protect it from us, European companies, European institutions, but not from the rest of the world. So I think the only way is to start these campaigns, to make people understand, yes, perfect, AI is good, but what do you do when the news comes and say the Chinese or Chinese researchers developed a new model? What did people start to do? They went directly to it, they tested it, they created images with it, even politicians. And this is not good practice. So that's a problem, because people don't understand that there are risks to the use. I think the main issue of the AI is the human user, not the AI itself.
I can't say it even better. Thanks for this. When we're talking about the social perspective of AI, of course, now the discussion are going from direction that the artificial intelligence nowadays actually creates a very new type of discrimination. We are not separated by gender or religion, but with the skill of using AI or to not use AI. Are you agree? And what do you think is the needed next step that the Commission and the European Union are supposed to do in this matter to prevent and to protect these new types of discrimination that we see more and more coming on the society?
I mean, it really depends where you use AI. I wouldn't, so if you know or don't know how to use AI, I would not call it discrimination per se. Yes, of course, if you use AI for when you have a candidate for a job and you want AI to recommend you the best candidate, that shouldn't be allowed. AI shouldn't be allowed to go anywhere near your data and assess whether you are capable of paying off a loan or not. The problem with the discrimination is a bit different. I think it's in the bias that AI has, and I think there the main discrimination comes from. Yes, it's not gender anymore, but it is the bias of the data. So you have to understand ChatGPT or let's say models that are generated in the Western culture are biased towards beliefs and towards things we do in Western culture. So if they are generated in another culture, they will also have a lot of data from that culture. So in principle, they might not be aligned with our beliefs. But so AI, so this knowing or not knowing AI, I wouldn't say it's a discriminatory factor, but yes, AI is creating new ways of discriminating people and unjustly discriminate as well. What to do with it? You have to be careful when you use AI. I think, and I think that if you are, it really also depends where knowing or knowing how to use AI should be a requirement. Because I don't think all jobs actually need AI. Most of them actually don't need AI. As I said, now we started to exploit AI because it significantly increases our productivity. However, you can write something in 10 minutes, and 5 years ago or 2 years ago, you needed 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 1 day. So yeah, I think again, my answer would be we need to regulate and also be careful to prevent this kind of discrimination to actually start appearing.
Izodor, what type of sensitive information we feed the algorithms, because right now we don't have European large language model. We have only provided from China, from US, so those data actually we can't protect. So yeah, for sure this is very major topic. One thing also from my side, and I'm sure that Kristina will continue with the topic, but today actually we discussed the topic of disinformation in different ways. There is a very interesting project in Bulgaria called Code. Some amazing outcome also and research coming from the colleagues. And I know that typically in Europe and Commission always like to talk about synergy. So there will be several hackathons among the young people to create different solutions for their information, and they will be much appreciated, of course, to see how we can collaborate and exchange know-how. But my question to you is what type of question it is good or challenge we can address to the young people in order to resolve the disinformation problem? Do you think there is some urgent challenge that right now could be a topic of hackathon or so? The work with the students.
I mean, when I look at my child, my son, I think the biggest issue for him is not only AI-generated content, but also human-generated stupidity that we see in the TikTok challenges and things like that. But of course, in terms of disinformation is always there. And again, you have to look at it also not from a factual perspective, but from a human perspective. So what might be true for you, it's not necessarily exactly the same as it is true for me, because truth is, as you know, the same in the eyes of the beholder. So it really depends. It really depends on what I believe is true, what you believe is true. Of course, science is something that is a bit more definite, but science is not the only truth out there. So if you put a hackathon to children, I would try to show them how actually you can manipulate them with this fake content, because only then they will learn that whatever they look at, they need to start thinking about it, and they need to always think whether what is being conveyed to them actually makes sense or not. So I think that's the way to go with children. Really early education examples of actually how things can be a bit deceiving.
Great, thank you. And back to the stage, yeah, we have also questions left.
Thank you very much, Kristina. Just a final question, because I want to use the opportunity to invite both Izodor and Max to respond to this question, and we will basically close the webinar with Max's response. We will start first with Izodor, because we are at the top of the hour. So the question is a bit generic but important. How can key stakeholders from academia, from business, from government connect with you, your projects, and become in a way, part of your stakeholder network. Because for Izodor, I saw that you have a certain deliverable. For anyone interested in the SOLARIS project, everyone can Google SOLARIS Project, University of Amsterdam, the coordinating body, and find the page of the project. But I saw a very interesting deliverable that you will produce, which is a regulatory innovation framework for infodemic risk mitigation. So if there are municipal representatives out there, if there are representatives of, for example, institutes in the field of public administration that want to learn more about your ideas around this regulatory innovation framework, maybe want to contribute, maybe want to share ideas, can they actually become part of your network? How? What should they do? Who should they reach out to? Are there certain forums that are upcoming? Just very briefly, main ideas that we can share for engagement, and the same we went up after your response with Max, the same for people who might be interested, governmental officials, businesses, to contribute to the AI CERN for AI blueprint that our colleagues at the center for future generations are working on. So Izodor and then Max, and then we wrap it up.
Yeah, so actually, if you're from Bulgaria, we have a perfect partner there. Brand Media Bulgaria, they're also very much involved in our ecosystem building. So this is usually the way you can start more actively participating. We are doing a lot of co-creation and co-design. The final use cases phase 3 will be completely on the citizens. People actually engaging with us in different surveys, in different workshops, more or less. And these are the ways through the project channels. I mean, of course, even my email is public, so we would much appreciate if you can join our webpage. You can just send us an email, and yes, we will also post this invite for helping us define the direction in which artificial or generative AI can be used for good, because I think this is the key thing. We all know what harm it can do, but we also need to understand that it is good, but we need, as I said, a bit of common sense and a bit of proactive thinking in how to use it. But I think also by promoting it for good, we might also promote the ethical use of artificial intelligence, but not by companies, also by us citizens.
All right, and I will also say a few words. First, also thanks to Izodor. Actually, the visit is really interesting. I'm really reaching out to you about that. I really like to know more. Regarding how to get in contact on the similar topic, I think there's two ways. One is contact me or my team. I will share the slides. You will find me also. I have, of course, my email is also available there. And the other way, there will be no official way. It will be probably the public consultation process that the EU Commission will start in roughly 2 months. I think that's the best opportunity probably then to be not only consume things, right, like reports or whatever, but actually to participate in giving actually input to the process. So that is something that we will also spread far and wide so everybody could see that and yeah, has a voice that can be heard in that process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you to Kristina joining us as a moderator, as a host of this discussion. It was a pleasure. For everyone that was watching, do know that the European Commission will prioritize artificial intelligence over the next 3 years for the next procedure for establishing European digital innovation hubs, or I would say prolonging the services that they're offering to businesses. The Commission wants to turn the digital hubs into a form of help desks for AI to navigate small and medium enterprises to the right innovators. Definitely two of these innovators who are joining us today, Izodor from the University of Maribor, Slovenia, Max from the Center for Future Generations, Kristina, the founder and the leader of the Bulgarian AI Cluster. We would all be trying to continue our cooperation in the future, especially in the framework of the European Digital Innovation Hub Trakia and its future services. Maybe we will try to include some of the innovations that are working around different frameworks, different blueprints into the services that we're offering to businesses free of charge, thanks to the European Commission. So once again, it was a pleasure for me to have you. It was a great opportunity to share your insights with the Bulgarian audience, and let's stay in touch, let's keep in touch. Thank you and have a great rest of the day, great evening ahead. Safe drive, Kristina.
Thank you, and have a lovely